going public. A stock was priced at £1.85, which was about $3.60 at the time with the conversion, and went traded right up to about $4.25, $4.50 a share. And prior to that, our fundings were at $1 a share, and $1.50 was the most anybody ever paid for that stock privately. And now it's trading on the markets at $4.50, $5 a share. I became very popular. And so in 2004, 2 years later, I raised a bunch of money. I had bought a British publisher. I bought the Plain English Group, which was a daily magazine that came out. And it was distributed for free in supermarkets, and we sold advertising. I bought Altruistic Instruments, which was a medical device company. And I bought several Homeland Security companies, melded them all into one. And that was my venture capital business. We called it Sky Capital Enterprises, and we took that public. And that went public. It was priced at £1 a share, which was about $1.85, almost $2 a share. The most we had anyone had paid for it privately was, again, $1.50. And that doubled right away to £2 a share, which was almost $4. Everybody was up over 100%. So I'm very popular, and life is good. This is March of 2004. And I got 2 public companies I'm the CEO of. Everybody's making money. Tens of thousands of clients, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of brokers and employees between my portfolio companies, the Sky companies, et cetera. Literally, at one point, I counted 4,100 people on my payroll. Were on my nipple, 4,100 people. That was the max. And I get an invitation delivered to me at the Dorchester Hotel from 2 lords that turns out sponsored me and invited me to a reception in my honor at the House of Lords. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? I called up one of my friends, a famous lord. I'm going to call him Lord K. And I explained that I was been sponsored by 2 lords, and they were going to throw sort of a luncheon for me. I was allowed to invite up to 125 of my friends, family, business associates, that I'll be given a podium and a chance to speak and address everybody. It's in the House of Lords specifically. And I was told there'll be food and drink served, but no chairs and no tables. So what does that mean? I said, just what we said. You have 125 people. They'll be standing around. They'll be eating and drinking on us, on Parliament. And you'll be in the House of Lords, and you'll speak to the Lords. And I said, no chairs? They said, no chairs, no tables. I said, really? All right.
Interesting.
I guess this is part of, being in a different type of culture, different customs.
Right.
I learned more later. So
more of a culture shock.
This was October of 2004. I spoke in the House of Lords. And it was very exciting. Everybody was really super pumped. A lot of my brokers came, my attorneys came, my underwriters, my accountants, all kinds of friends, and this and that. And it was a very interesting experience, one of the highlights of my life. And then, and I got a standing ovation. And I was very excited and very proud. But I'm thinking they're just such polite people. If I sucked and they didn't like me, they still would have clapped like that. And they have like a sort of receiving line. And everybody comes and shakes your hand and says, well done, you're brilliant, Mr. Mandell, whatever. And then the woman that actually tends to the House of Lords, she's been there 40 years, handling all these affairs. And she comes up to me in the cutest of ways, says, oh, Mr. Mandell, she goes, we haven't had anybody speak like that we haven't had anybody speak like that ever. And I was flattered. I said, maybe I made a good impression. So we had a big soiree, and that was the story, and it was in the newspapers, and I was very proud. However, 2 days later, I'm still in London, the Dorchester Hotel, sitting with a former United States congressman and a member of Parliament, a parliamentary appointee, and a bunch of my fellow brokers, and a couple of elegantly dressed guys that stand out outside of like Buckingham Palace, that sort, very stiff. And they came with a tray with an invitation on it. They said, we're looking for Ross Mandell. And right away, my friend, the former congressman, was 6'11". He was an NBA basketball player. And said, who's asking? He stands up. He's like 7 feet tall. And they're looking at him. He goes, "We're here to present an invitation from Parliament." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's me." Because it looked very scary at first. And they give me this invitation, and it requests the honor of my presence to address both houses of Parliament. Now it's the House of Lords and the House of Commons on May 5th, 2005, which is like 6 months going forward, 7 months, and it's called on May Day. And I said, "Excuse me, what is May Day?" And my British friends said, "May Day is when the Houses of Parliament, British Parliament is like our Congress. We have two houses. We have the House of Representatives, and which is their House of Commons, and we have the Senate, and they have the House of Lords." They said, on May Day, the Queen of England comes to the Houses of Parliament,
The Queen of England.
addresses Parliament, and then they open up Parliament for the spring season. We're inviting you, Mr. Mandell, to speak immediately following the Queen of England. By the way, she spoke for about 80 seconds. And then she told me, "Mr. Mandell, you take over." And I was like, whoa. And it's a true story. And it was in all the newspapers. There, I have a lot of pictures. They provided their own photographer. For security reasons, you can't take your own pictures. They confiscated all our cameras and phones and all that kind of thing. We're going to check everything. And so this particular event, because it's my second invitation, I was invited to, and I guess I did a good job the first time. I got to speak in front of the House of Commons, the House of Lords. I had a raised dais, a podium on the River Thames behind me, and I was allowed to invite 250 of my closest friends and associates.
Double what they told you, huh?
It was double. And we got a full sit-down 5-course meal, a lunch. So now we had tables and chairs. I have to say, the first time everybody was standing around trying to drink and trying to hold a plate, it was just a little weird. It's almost like you're invited, have fun, but get the hell out of here. Now they said, "I guess you're worthy. Come on, make yourself at home." They serve a magnificent lunch. I mean, you can't buy this. This is being offered to me through the two houses of Parliament, which was really impressive. So now I'm speaking, and I'm excited. They're excited. Everybody's excited. I'm jazzed up. I have brought some very serious men with me from America, and they spoke first and introduced me and all that kind of stuff. And even a PR guy, a very famous PR guy, came over, as well as a politician and some really serious guys, members of the cabinet. And they introduced me, and I went off, and I did my thing. And while I'm speaking, one of the lords, the lords are a well-to-do group, an aristocratic group. They like to, hoist a few. And everybody was feeling great, and my stock's up, and everybody's making money. And one of them said, "I'm going to buy some Sky Capital stock. I'm buying 5,000 shares. I'm calling my broker now." Another guy goes, "I'm going to buy 10,000 shares. I'm going to call my guy now." And I'm, we're laughing, we're speaking, we're joking. Another guy says, "Sky Capital's up another $0.50, another 50p. And someone says, "There's the real Lord of London." And then a bunch of the lords said, "That's the Lord of London. There's the Lord of London." And that kind of sort of stuck, And the funny thing is, if you get invited back a third time, and I'm still hoping that happens one day, I hope you're listening, fellas, on the third invitation, you get Saturday night, not more lunch, and you get a sit-down dinner for 500 of your closest friends and associates.
Wow.
And both houses. And then the fourth time, you get knighted by the Queen.
Really?
So who knew this kind of thing?
Wow.
I bet none of you knew this. Come on, admit it. You're learning this for the first time. Who goes through something like this? I mean, Grant Cardone, you're a big guy, but I know you never did this. And it was really a spectacular event. And they started chanting, "Lord of London, Lord of London." And so I've had several offers, some serious, some not so serious, for for me to write my life story, and they want to make a movie out of it, a la
It's a
The
hell
Wolf
of
of Wall Street.
hell of a movie.
It's going to be a hell of a movie. Let me just tell you.
The Lord of
What?
London.
And the one of the proposals was, because they had heard this Lord of London story, that it goes back and forth. They talk about my life through my criminal trial, me sitting and going to court and living my life through the various witnesses that testified about our frolicking and shenanigans in London and on Wall Street and throughout my life, because they got into a lot of very crazy details and they really dramatized it. Think of Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump, without Stormy Daniels, of course, but that's what they tried to make me.
No hush money. No hush
They
money.
tried to make me sound like, like Hugh Hefner on Viagra. And it's crazy. And then they go cut back and forth. Both the book and the movie would be the trial, which tells my life, and then my actual life in London. I went over there my first time at 1991, raised like 30 million in a week. And then this went all the way to 2006 when the FBI raided my brokerage firm on 110 Wall Street. And I wasn't indicted till 2009. But when they come into your place right away, there's a negative association.
Right.
And the Southern District of New York said that, no, we did that on purpose. So they acted as judge, jury, and executioner. And that's just against everything in America. As you're all witnessing what they call lawfare today, what's happening, it happened to me like 15 years ago. And it's, oh, what a surprise. It happened in New York. Oh, with the Democrat administration. What a shock. Really? Okay. They used to think I was crying sour grapes. Now everybody sees what really goes on.
So the first thing that comes to my mind, I don't know about you guys, but first thing that comes to my mind is the stark difference in how one country portrays this individual and another country portrays
Correct.
this individual. Whereas here, you're, everybody knows your past. You're very open about it. You did 9 years in federal prison. This country basically threw you in there, to where in England, you were literally a member of high society, where the lords of that country, by the way, if you don't know what a lord means, it's a formal title for I run this country.
Big landowner, correct.
Definitely. So the people, the wealthiest people in that society were calling you one of them. It's extraordinary is what it is.
It gets even better than that. I was accused of manipulating the stock exchange in London while I was in London with foreign residents, no Americans, not one American. And a group of prosecutors in Lower New York decided to charge me with that. My trial happened, and the London Stock Exchange sent the head of compliance. That's the person that makes sure that all the rules are complied with. And she testified for the prosecution to certify that I really did business on the stock exchange. And we insisted they show up. We didn't agree to have it just granted. We made them come certify so we could cross-examine. And my lawyers cross-examined her, and she said, Mr. Mandell did nothing wrong. We have no evidence of any wrongdoing. And in fact, there were members of the British government that were shocked that a group of prosecutors in Lower New York that knew nothing about the London Stock Exchange and nothing about the day-to-day trading, zero, zippo, nada, nil, nothing, charged me with that, manipulating their stock exchange while I was in London, because all I did in London was follow their rules. And everything I did was in conjunction and in accordance with their rules. And being the first and only American to do anything over there like that, they were watching me like a hawk, because I already had a checkered past. So I got no grace, no gratis, no looking the other way. They were on me from day one. I spent $23 million on legal fees. Some criminal I am. A criminal would have pocketed $23 million. What?
Definitely.
I paid $23 million to get it right. And then the stock exchange says he didn't do anything wrong. In fact, they praised me for the actions that I took to be in compliance. But a group of prosecutors in Lower Manhattan said, no, he broke the rules. They still never said one rule that I broke. And my lawyer suggested to the judge, listen, why don't you take away Mr. Mandell's driver's license? I'm like looking at him like, what does that mean? And the judge is looking at him, what does that mean? And he said, well, when Mr. Mandell was in England, he drove on the other side of the street. He drove on the wrong side of the street. If you apply American rules, Mr. Mandell made illegal turns from the wrong lane
Right.
every day
Right.
when he was driving.
Mm.
Why didn't you charge him with that? And of course, they found me in contempt, and I have to pay a fine and all these different things. So, listen, the system is what the system is. You tell me what you guys think of this system. Justice or injustice? Fair or unfair? Right or wrong? It's that simple. It's black and white. That's how I see it. When you've been through what I've been through, there's right and wrong. There's black and white. Shame on you if you don't know the difference.
Unfortunately, nowadays, many people feel your pain. A lot of people are losing faith in the
You
American
think?
system. 100%.
19 million convicted felons in America. What?
If they let us vote, they'd be surprised who we
What?
vote for.
Well, 19 million families have convicted felons. Think about that.
Yeah.
You
It's
think
a
you got a
shame.
problem with a convicted felon? 19 million families. How terrible has this country become? How outrageous. It's just because everything's a business.
Agreed.
And these people are doing business. It's like a small town sheriff who's got to write a certain amount of tickets, traffic tickets and violations because he's got to make a quota. It's terrible.
It is.
But that is what it is. I did my time like a man. I'm still fighting to clear my name. And there'll be a book and a movie in due time. So stay tuned, everybody. There's a lot of announcements coming out from this
Exciting stuff.
From this cat. And I'm excited.
So while you were in London and all this is going on, you're addressed. What happened after that in London? Because I would assume the whole country knew who you were at that point, right?
Well, when I went public in June 15th of 2002, there had been no IPOs, initial public offerings on the stock market for more than a year and a half.
American or English, either one.
There were no IPOs. The capital markets were pretty much decimated. You had the dot-com crash, which was brutal. I mean, companies going out of business, declaring bankruptcy, fraud, the biggest frauds in the history of this country, et cetera. And then you had 9/11 out of nowhere.
Right.
And the world was at war, it seemed, and we invaded Iraq, and the markets were closed. There were all kinds of issues with technology, and the laws changed with accounting and the anti-AML laws, the anti-money laundering rules. So many things happened, and they tried to put in all kinds of provisions because apparently the accountants and the rating agencies said Enron was A+, WorldCom was A+, Lucid was A+ rated. They all went to 0.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, but they never got prosecuted. They never did anything wrong, right? Everybody lost all their money, and they blame Ross Mandell. All right, so what was I saying?
I asked you after the House of Lords, House of Commons.
Oh, okay, so
there had been no IPOs.
After I go public on June
Right.
15th, my underwriter says, we just booked you on a TV show. It's a national show. You're going to do a 9-minute spot, CEO on the hot seat. I'm like, what? It was the best day of my life, for next to my wedding day and the birth of my children. It was the best day of my life. I just gone public. I did something no one had done. Everybody said couldn't be done, impossible. It was like the 4-minute mile. It was impossible till somebody did it. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting ready to party with my friends and have an enjoyable night out. They tell me I'm going to address the nation. What? I didn't really understand the bigger picture. The only reason they allowed me to go public was because they didn't think I could do it. They thought it would fail. But they said, we have nothing to lose, so why not? Let's give this kid a shot. It's 100 to 1 against. They love gambling and racetracks and betting and all that everywhere in the world except for America until recently. Everybody's got a gambling account and all that, And I succeeded. Now they were doubly excited because now they wanted to use me, frame me on national television. And my company had been public for 6 hours. And they put me in a chair, and they had a big black screen like we have in here now. And they had an overhead projector, a graph of my stock. And the chart went like this, straight up. Because they used from the private placement straight up to the public offering to where it closed. And to me, that's very misleading. But they were basically saying, you see, the capital markets are open. The city is back. Don't feel uncomfortable putting your money in the markets. Put your money in the trusts and the funds. We're open for business. Mr. Mandell managed to come over from America and look at these returns, 500%, 400%. And that's what that's not me. They're selling. They were asking me somewhat tough questions. It's called CEO in the hot seat. But, I've been grilled, interrogated, harassed, threatened, everything. I know how to conduct myself in that kind of a setting, but it was my first time on television. And 9 minutes is a long time. If you've never been on TV, it's a long time.
It's an eternity.
It's like it's like my sex life. And 9 minutes, I'm exaggerating by half. But it was quite an achievement, and they framed me. And then right after my deal, companies started filing, and companies started going public. And I got a lot of credit for that in the city in England. The city is their version of Wall Street. So the city is 1 square mile, and you come in through gates, because back when Rome basically owned England, and back 1,000, it's not like America. London's 1,000 years old, more. And they have preserved the gates, although the gates don't exist, but the big walls exist, and you drive through, and there's 1 square mile, which is all basically finance and business, law, accounting, tax, brokerage, etc. And we call Lower Manhattan Wall Street. Wall Street's 1 small block. There's a million, there's a lot of different places down there. And but that's their reference. So they call, when someone says the city, that's the center of business in London. And I would say to you all, it's the center of it's the financial capital of the world. And now it's back and forth, I think, between America and London.
We had our good friend Jose here. He said, so in less than a day, your stock went to the moon. Yep, definitely did.
It certainly did.
Tell us a little bit about, so you're on CEO in the hot seat. What happens after you go public? What were your expectations? Like, what happens to the actual stock over the course of a few days?
We were really well thought of. I had marketed myself and the company really well. Some would say too well. And my biggest fear was the stock was going to get way ahead of itself. Because one of the things that the regulators insisted is that we have a fresh company with no history. They gave me a chance to build from zero, and we did an amazing job in spite of what we've been accused of and I've been convicted of and all that nonsense. And the reception was amazing. Now, to backtrack for a second, before I did go public there, I told you I opened an office in London.
Right.
And one of the things I tried to do was actually buy or acquire a bank or a brokerage firm during this period when everything had gone to shit, right, around the world financially. And it was amazing that nobody would take me seriously. And the response I got, I couldn't even get a meeting with any English stockbroking firm or bank. And what they would say to me is, listen, they would say, if you wire 10 million pounds, 10 million quid, which was almost $20 million, into our lawyer's escrow account, we'll take the meeting. Like suggesting we didn't have the money or we weren't fit. I don't know. I never heard anything like that.
That's insane.
And we knew that most of those firms were troubled. But, there's nothing like an abrasive, egotistical Wall Street guy.
Young Lord.
That's how they were. And so I got turned down by like a dozen firms to even meet. They wouldn't even meet me. And we had money. We had the money and the buying power. And so we decided to go public without it.
Mm.
But when we went public, I structured the prospectus to say that the reason we're going public is to acquire a stock brokerage firm or a bank in the bombed out broking sector
Wow.
of the city. So we're public. I go on television and we go out and we party. I think we went to a casino in London, a private club. And I put the do not disturb sign on my phone. We got home at 3 and 4 in the morning, whatever. And my phone starts ringing like at 9 in the morning. And it's the hall porter calling. Hall porter is another word for concierge. We call him a concierge here. They call him a hall porter. He porters the hall. I don't know what that. I believe the English really have English correct.
Yeah.
We have sort of like
I don't know. So some
bastardized version.
Some of their terminology isn't doesn't sound too.
But I
hall
love
porter.
A hall porter. So they're the halls. They porter the halls.
Got it.
What do I know?
Okay.
We're just lowly Americans. And I said, Mr. Mandell, you have some people here to see you. I said, Jeeves, I don't have any appointments. He goes, I know you put the do not disturb sign, but people are insisting to see you. And I'm like, what people? He says, I think you want to meet these people, Mr. Mandell.
Okay.
Because they all knew my business down there. I'm I chat everybody up. And I was very excited. They all knew about the deal. I was in the newspapers, front page, my picture and everything prior to the deal. And so I throw on a suit. I go downstairs, and I think it was 3 of the broking firms and a bank that wouldn't even agree to see me in a meeting, a friendly meeting, a cup of coffee. Let's talk about buying your crapped out firm. Or your bust bank. They were waiting for me in the lobby at the Dorchester Hotel.
Success is the best revenge, ain't it?
Well, it was a very interesting day. And within a few weeks, I acquired Everett Financial out of Wandsworth, which was a brokerage firm, a banking firm. They called it, there's another name for it there. And they were full-on member of the London Stock Exchange. They had a passport to open up in any country any city in the EU on a notification basis, not an application basis. So I just had to open up a branch anywhere in Europe and just notify them versus having to fill out an application and going through a 1.5 years and $2 million application process. It was very invaluable. But they were waiting for me downstairs. And it was a very esteemable feeling I had, knowing that I had, climbed that mountain prior to 2002, that deal. I had been in the stock market for 20 years. And I have been credited with taking over 100 companies public. And I don't know how many private companies I funded, but probably closer to like 500 in 20 years, maybe closer to 1,000 even. Private companies, but public companies, over 100. And but I had never taken myself public. And here I've now taken myself public, in spite of the fact that I was considered a notorious broker. And I was fined, well, not fined, but I was censored by the New York Stock Exchange for activities prior to 1991, before I got sober. And it was really one of the most esteemable, rewarding feelings, because according to everybody, it was impossible. And, impossible, another way to look at the word impossible is to say, I'm possible. And I gave myself the benefit of the doubt. I knew I could do it. Just like I know what I'm doing right now. So pay attention, everybody, because we have epic things to announce, big things happening in our world. Big trip to Las Vegas coming up. Could there be a deal in the works?
Whoa.
That's all we can say today.
What?
Stay tuned. It's going to get hot.
All right, guys. That was another story-filled hour with Ross Mandell himself. You heard it here first, how he got the nickname Lord of London.
Pay attention, everybody. You're going to be shocked and awed by what's coming.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.